Right, black and white sports supporters. Well, I got to tell you, when it comes to these CBA negotiations, potential lockouts, this and that and the other, it's amazing how nobody really and truly on either side acknowledges one key difference, Rebecca Lobo included, which we'll get to her video in a minute. They failed to acknowledge one simple fact. And this is...
Look, Adam Silver just dropped a huge bomb that's going to totally change the WNBA. He actually confirmed it himself, no doubt about it. A massive salary bump for WNBA players. It's locked in. This deal is going to flip the league's whole economic situation on its head. For months, these negotiations were ugly, just stuck in the mud with all these demands. But then Silver stepped in. He slammed his fist down, basically saying, enough is enough. He ended all the craziness that was threatening the 2026 season. This isn't just a pay raise, you know. This is the head honcho stepping in, forcing a new era. And it's also showing us some uncomfortable truths about how fragile the league's money situation really is, and how much power one specific player has.
All right, this is probably some of the best news we've heard about the CBA in regards to any side of the coin, the owner side, owner/commissioner side, and the player side. Thank you, Adam Silver, for stepping up and being the adult in the room. Both sides of these ladies have been acting just like kids. They've been acting like kids. You got the players demanding certain things just because they feel like Caitlin Clark has it, like personal security and all types of stuff. This has been nonsense. This has been nonsense.
Before Silver jumped in, the WNBA negotiations were just a mess. Seriously, people were calling it a childish standoff. Both sides were dug in, going nowhere. And that October 31st deadline was getting really close. The players, feeling good about the league's new popularity, weren't just asking for bigger paychecks. That's always a thing, right? But they had this huge list of other requests, and some of them sounded pretty wild. What's crazy is they wanted way better personal security, like the kind superstar rookies, you know, like Caitlin Clark are getting. It was a clear sign they felt treated differently, and that Clark's star power was undeniable. On top of that, they wanted a much bigger slice of the revenue, like closer to the NBA's 50% instead of their tiny 9%. That 9% has really ticked players off for ages. And get this, they also pushed for better benefits, a softer salary cap to keep players around, and even financial compensation for players from way back, like 1999-2002. It really showed the league's past struggles. But here's the thing, all these demands created a huge roadblock. WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert apparently couldn't fix it, which led to whispers about her leadership. The whole vibe was tense, and some folks even wondered if the 2026 season would even happen. That's what eventually forced Silver's hand, setting the stage for his big intervention and highlighting all the deep problems that had been brewing for months.
Rebecca Lobo included, which we'll get to her video in a minute. They failed to acknowledge one simple fact. And this is absolute fact. It's all over with the viewership, the ratings, how much people are willing to pay for tickets to get in the games, the whole nine. There would be a real potential for the WNBA to possibly not even exist anymore. All right, of which Rebecca Lobo acknowledges that part, right? The value of these teams, the league, all of it has.
So Adam Silver actually stepping in like that, it was a huge sign of how bad things had gotten. He basically said both sides were acting immature and couldn't figure it out on their own. And he didn't hold back. He publicly called out WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, suggesting she needed to build a better relationship with the players. That's a super rare public smackdown from the NBA's top guy, since the NBA pretty much funds the WNBA. Silver was clearly frustrated. He even noted how discussions had gotten really personal, reflecting a complete breakdown of any professional behavior. His main goal was obvious: make sure there was a 2026 WNBA season, preventing a lockout or, even worse, the league just folding. That's been a real fear in past talks, even if it feels far off now. What's more, Silver's declaration was a huge show of authority. He cut through all the bickering and laid down the law. He essentially told both parties to cut the nonsense. He said a fair deal would happen, but it wouldn't be a free-for-all where every single player demand was met. This firm stance totally changed things. It signaled that the era of endless, unproductive talks was over, and that he, with the NBA's big financial muscle, was going to force a resolution. It was a clear display of leadership, but honestly, it was only needed because others had failed. It just showed how serious the situation was and how badly a decisive hand was needed.
Actually called certain things out. He's called things out like, yeah, Kathy needs to work to have a better relationship with the players. He said that. He's also said, yeah, it seems like things are getting a little bit like really personal. You know what I'm saying? It's getting real catty and personal, as things tend to get when women get to going back and forth and all of this stuff. Adam Silver stepping in and saying, hey, I'm going to make sure that there's a 2026 WNBA season. I'm going to make sure this CBA gets done, and I'm going to make sure it's fair for both parties. This whole revenue sharing thing.
Okay, so the biggest thing to come out of Silver's intervention, the one everyone's talking about, is his clear confirmation that players are getting a huge salary increase. He said it loud and clear on national TV. They absolutely deserve it. That announcement was such a relief for both players and fans. It validated what they've been saying all along, that their talent and impact deserve way better pay. But here's the thing, Silver quickly shut down the players' demand for a bigger slice of the revenue pie. He explicitly called that the wrong way to look at it. He argued that comparing the WNBA's tiny 9% revenue share to the NBA's massive 50% is just misleading and totally unsustainable. Why? Because the NBA brings in so much more money, it's not even close. Instead, Silver insisted we should focus on the actual dollars players are making, not these percentages that will never realistically match the NBA's numbers. This nuanced but very firm stance set a clear boundary. Players will get a substantial raise, yes, but they won't be getting a proportional revenue split with the NBA. It's a practical approach that recognizes the league's financial reality while still giving its athletes a big financial boost. This shift in how they framed the discussion actually helped things move forward. They sidestepped that whole contentious revenue-sharing debate and focused on real, tangible salary improvements that are more realistic. It's laying the groundwork for a deal that, while not giving players absolutely everything they want, will definitely be a huge step forward.
All right, of which Rebecca Lobo acknowledges that part, right? The value of these teams, the league, all of it has risen because of Caitlin Clark. She doesn't mention that. She does not mention that. We'll get to that in a minute. Adam Silver was on the Today Show, and of course, the NBA starts today. All right, and he gets asked about the WNBA, the CBA, whether or not these players are going to make more money.
Now, even though Silver confirmed a big pay bump, we still don't know the exact numbers. That's got everyone speculating like crazy about how big these new salaries could be. Some analysts are even saying it could be a truly transformative jump. We're talking current WNBA salaries multiplying by 3, maybe even 4 times what they are now. That would totally change how financially stable players are and how long their careers could last. To give you some context, if rookie salaries, which are currently around the low 6 figures, shot up to, say, $250,000 or $300,000 a year, that's an unheard of jackpot for new talent, making the WNBA a much more appealing and viable career path right away. And get this proposed increase gets even more urgent when you hear reports of players turning down Supermax offers, like $850,000 to a staggering $1 million. For many, rejecting what used to be an unthinkable amount for a WNBA player just shows how unhappy they are with the current pay. They feel even those Supermax numbers completely undervalue the league's top talent and its surging popularity. Some critics called those rejections absurd, arguing it shows unrealistic expectations about the league's financial capacity. However, these rejections also highlight the players' belief that the WNBA's value, fueled by insane viewership and cultural relevance, has completely outgrown its current compensation model. Silver's intervention is now trying to bridge that gap. Ultimately, this battle over numbers isn't just about income, it's about respect, recognition, and making a professional women's sports career financially viable for the long haul.
WNBA season, I'm going to make sure this CBA gets done, and I'm going to make sure it's fair for both parties. This whole revenue sharing thing, we're not doing that because the NBA makes way more money than the WNBA. But I can give you a hard number that you guys need to accept where you'll be happy with the money. All this other nonsense, trying to play in this league, that league, trying to get everything Caitlin Clark got, it ain't happening. Adam Silver stepping in, being the adult in the room, and putting his foot down. Let's take a listen to what he had to say, and there's also an article with more.
But listen, amidst all the talk about bigger player salaries, a real dose of financial reality got dropped into the conversation, especially when it comes to some of those wild fan expectations for player pay. For example, suggesting a star like Aja Wilson should make $10 million a year. That was immediately shot down as totally unsustainable, bordering on fantasy, by anyone who actually understands the league's money situation. Those kinds of figures are normal in the NBA, sure, but they're just not feasible for the WNBA. The league simply doesn't have the huge revenue streams needed to support those paychecks right now. The harsh truth, and this comes from the original commentator too, is that if the WNBA tried to pay players at those inflated NBA-level rates, the league would just collapse. It wouldn't matter how popular it is with someone like Caitlin Clark. This isn't just guessing, it's based on the cold, hard facts of the WNBA's revenue. They just don't bring in enough cash to cover those massive expenses. The financial model, even with its recent growth, just can't handle that weight. And it's not just about individual salaries. If the league wants to expand rosters, add more teams, and keep growing, those extravagant individual salaries would immediately kill those ambitions. So the delicate balance is finding that sweet spot, a significant deserved raise that keeps players happy and invested, but one that also ensures the league's long-term financial health. Plus, its ability to keep expanding and bringing in new talent. Demands that ignore the current financial limits, no matter how well-meaning, ultimately threaten the very existence of the league they're trying to improve. It's a constant tightrope walk between ambition and economic reality.
He gets asked about the WNBA, the CBA, whether or not these players are going to make more money.
Right now. Before I let you get out here, WNBA, as you know, they're calling for players in the WNBA are calling for more money. They 9%, I believe, accordingly. They get 9% of total revenue compared to roughly 50% of the revenue of NBA players. Should they be getting a larger share of the revenue in the WNBA?
Yes. I mean, I think share isn't the right way to look at it because there's so much more revenue in the NBA. I think you should look at it in absolute numbers in terms of what they're making, and they are going to get a big increase in this cycle of collective bargaining, and they deserve it.
Now, Rebecca Lobo, who's a WNBA legend and a fantastic commentator, she's expressed a huge sense of relief about these CBA negotiations. And she said she's never felt this way in any previous bargaining cycle. For her, past talks were always super scary. There was this real, terrifying chance that the NBA, who pretty much bankrolls the WNBA, could just decide, you know what? This is too much. They could just see the WNBA as a never-ending money pit and totally fold the league. But that huge, existential fear, she believes it's gone now. Her reasoning is that these franchises have just gotten too valuable, and the women playing are worth too much for such a drastic move to happen. Lobo implies this new sense of security means they can negotiate without the constant threat of total collapse. But here's the thing. As some observant commentators have pointed out, there's a critical omission in Lobo's take. She never explicitly mentions Caitlin Clark. Clark is the single, undeniable reason behind this sudden surge in value and why that existential dread has disappeared. Lobo correctly sees the rise in franchise worth and player value, but she doesn't name the individual whose unprecedented impact on viewership, ticket sales, and media attention has completely transformed the league's economic outlook. This omission, whether intentional or not, highlights a subtle but persistent tension in WNBA discussions. Maybe it's a reluctance by some veterans or established figures to fully credit the massive shift brought by one rookie, even though Clark's presence is directly responsible for the very relief Lobo now feels. The league's perceived stability, which underpins all these talks, is totally linked to the Clark phenomenon. It's a fact some don't say out loud, but everyone truly analyzing the situation understands.
Your WNBA, as you know, they're calling for players in the WNBA are calling for more money. They 9%, I believe, accordingly. They get 9% of total revenue compared to roughly 50% of the revenue of NBA players. Should they be getting a larger share of the revenue in the WNBA?
Yes. I mean, I think share isn't the right way to look at it because there's so much more revenue in the NBA. I think you should look at it in absolute numbers in terms of what they're making, and they are going to get a big increase in this cycle of collective bargaining, and they deserve it.
All right, you heard him. Share, the word share is not the right way to look at this because the NBA is bringing in.
Okay, so Caitlin Clark's huge, undeniable impact on the WNBA's value right now, it's totally a double-edged sword. It brings incredible prosperity, but also this really precarious vulnerability that Adam Silver and league officials have to handle super carefully. While Rebecca Lobo and others are relieved the league isn't about to fold, this underlying dependence on Clark's magnetic appeal makes for a pretty fragile foundation for long-term stability. Commentators have brought up this chilling hypothetical: what happens if Caitlin Clark, for whatever reason, maybe the physical toll of constant, aggressive play, or just wanting to chase other opportunities like pro golf or international play, decides to retire in a year or two? The ripple effects, they argue, would be catastrophic for the league's newfound financial health. Think about it. Networks have poured hundreds of millions annually into the WNBA's media rights deal. They did that primarily because of Clark's amazing ability to drive ratings and bring in viewers like never before. If she left and ratings inevitably tanked, those networks wouldn't hesitate to demand a renegotiation of their media rights contracts. The comparison here is to the NFL in 2016, when ratings drops, partly linked to the Colin Kaepernick situation, forced the league to give advertisers free spots. They basically gave away valuable inventory because they weren't delivering the promised viewership number. Critics warn the WNBA could find itself in a similar, or even worse mess. This reliance on one single superstar, even though it's a huge boost right now, shows a real structural weakness. Without a broader, diversified base of sustained high-level interest, the league's economic reality is uncomfortably tied to the unpredictable career path of one person. It makes its future gains feel less like organic growth and more like a potentially fleeting phenomenon.
Possible. I saw where evidently they turned down, well, there's been reports that they've turned down anywhere from $850,000 to $1 million on a Supermax, which is, if they turn that down, it's absurd. Because the bottom of the league money, like the average salary, the rookies might go to somewhere between $250,000 and $300,000 a year. I mean, all the way across the board, that's a massive raise. Now, I saw some fan that was absolutely ludicrous the other day said on Twitter, Asia Wilson should get $10 million.
Okay, so while all this buzz around bigger salaries is super exciting, there's a really crucial, often overlooked financial constraint that's going to heavily impact the WNBA's future growth and its ability to keep those higher paychecks going. It's their existing media rights deal. This agreement is a massive 10-year package valued at $2.2 billion, which breaks down to about $220 million per year. While that's a huge sum and shows how much the league's profile is rising, it also means it's a pretty fixed revenue stream for the next decade. Unlike other income sources, like ticket sales or merchandise, which can totally swing with sudden popularity surges, this media rights deal is locked in for a really long time. What this means is, even if the league's popularity continues to skyrocket, largely driven by players like Caitlin Clark, the immediate financial benefits from all that increased viewership and engagement won't necessarily translate into a proportional bump in media revenue. Not until that current deal expires and they can negotiate a new, more lucrative one. This long-term contract effectively puts a cap on a major chunk of the league's income potential for the foreseeable future. That creates a challenging environment for consistently bumping up player salaries year after year, even with expansion fees and other revenue streams helping out. Listen, TV money is the main driver for all major sports leagues. Just look at the NFL's obsession with its broadcast deal. So the WNBA really has to be strategic with how it uses these funds and how it plans for future growth, knowing that a big part of its projected income is already set in stone. It's a tricky situation. The league is growing way faster than its long-term media deal ever anticipated. But it can't immediately cash in on that accelerated growth in the most impactful way until a new negotiation window opens up. That makes those immediate, astronomical salary jumps really hard to sustain without other unforeseen revenue explosions.
Because there's so much more revenue in the NBA, I think you should look at it in absolute numbers in terms of what they're making, and they are going to get a big increase in this cycle of collective bargaining, and they deserve it.
All right, you heard him. Share, the word share is not the right way to look at this because the NBA is bringing in so much more revenue than the WNBA. So he's letting it be known, listen, that whole revenue share thing, y'all need to knock it off. Y'all need to knock it off. Shout out to Christian S on Twitter, and shout out to Oh No He Didn't. I got that one from Oh No He Didn't on Twitter. Christian S posted this article. Adam Silver says he expects big raises for
All right, listen. Despite this insane surge in popularity, viewership, and ticket sales, largely because of Caitlin Clark, the WNBA is still facing a really harsh financial reality. The league has never turned a profit, ever. This uncomfortable truth often gets lost in all the excitement about soaring ratings and sold-out arenas, but it's a huge obstacle to seeing exponential salary growth and long-term stability. There was a pretty damning New York Post article last year, around October or November, that revealed something shocking. Even with the early effects of the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, the WNBA had still lost a staggering. That figure sent shockwaves through the league and its financial backers, clearly showing that popularity doesn't automatically equal profitability, at least not in the short term. And get this, the new, more lucrative media rights deal hadn't even fully kicked in during that period, nor has it for the current season. So even though the WNBA is getting record attention, it's still operating with financial structures that lead to huge deficit. The original commentator is actually really eager to see this season's financial figures, but he's super skeptical the league will have finally turned a profit, even with the full force of the Clark effect. The historical precedent is just brutal. For 26 or 27 years, NBA owners have poured money into the WNBA without seeing any return. That same New York Post article said many owners were openly questioning why they were even keeping the league going and what the heck was happening to their money. This ongoing financial bleeding, even with all the positive momentum right now, forms a precarious backdrop to Adam Silver's salary promises. It really highlights the delicate balance between investment and growth and the urgent need for a path to profitability, which so far has remained totally elusive.
Now, I saw some fan that was absolutely ludicrous the other day said on Twitter, Asia Wilson should get $10 million a year. I mean, if you're going to start paying these players this, the league will fold, Caitlin Clark or not. They don't have that kind of money. They're not bringing in that kind of revenue. And if you hope to expand the rosters and yada, 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 not a chance that the money is going to get up in that range. Come together on the 3 times more salary and then revisit every 3 years like clockwork.
The thing is, the financial lifeline from the NBA to the WNBA has always been its absolute foundation. But for decades, that foundational support has also come with this underlying tension and growing frustration from the NBA owners themselves. That New York Post article we just talked about didn't just expose the WNBA's $40 million loss, even with Caitlin Clark's impact. It also pulled back the curtain on a really significant, often unspoken feeling among the NBA's powerful ownership group. For 26 or 27 years, these owners have continually poured capital into the WNBA, essentially bankrolling its operations without seeing any substantial financial return on their investment. This really long period of subsidization, without any clear path to actually making a profit, had reached a breaking point. It caused some serious soul-searching at the very top of the league. What's crazy is the article explicitly stated that NBA owners were starting to question why they were even keeping the league going at all, and what the heck was happening to their money. This wasn't just some casual question, it represented a really deep reevaluation of their commitment. It was a stark admission that the WNBA despite its cultural importance, was a persistent drain on their resources, offering no tangible financial upside. This candid admission really highlights the immense pressure on the WNBA to show it has a viable business model, one that can eventually stand on its own 2 feet, or at least significantly reduce its reliance on NBA subsidies. So Adam Silver's intervention in these CBA negotiations, it's not just about player welfare, it's also about appeasing these powerful owners, assuring them that their continued investment will eventually pay off, or at the very least, stabilize the league in a way that minimizes ongoing losses. Ultimately, the future of the WNBA, even with Silver's firm hand, is still completely tied to the willingness of these owners to keep opening their wallets. And that willingness has been severely tested over the past quarter century.
Says he expects big raises for WNBA players in new CBA and that they deserve it. This is an article on Fox Sports, okay? This is on Fox. Let's take a look at this article, man. Adam Silver stepping up and being the adult in the room. Thank you, Adam. Thank you. All right, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver again expressed confidence Tuesday. So this is from today. He expressed confidence Tuesday that WNBA players and that WNBA players and that the league will strike a new deal on a new collective bargaining.
Plus, a big, swirling controversy around those stalled WNBA CBA negotiations, the ones that ultimately needed Adam Silver to step in, has been all about WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert's performance and perceived shortcomings. A lot of people believe her leadership, or lack thereof, was the main reason communication broke down and why players and owners just couldn't make any progress. Even the original commentator and others have openly called for Engelbert's immediate firing, saying the league just wasn't getting anywhere with her in charge. This isn't just some casual criticism, it's a serious accusation. It implies her whole approach to negotiations or her relationships with key people was fundamentally flawed. Silver himself, in a rare public move, hinted at these problems, suggesting that Engelbert really needed to build a better relationship with the player. That's a subtle, but very powerful indictment of her leadership style and how effective she was. And get this, reports have even surfaced saying the players themselves were actively refusing to negotiate on a bunch of key points as long as Cathy was still in her position. That essentially created a complete standstill that paralyzed any meaningful discussions. This player-led boycott of negotiating with the sitting commissioner, that's an extraordinary development. It shows a total breakdown of trust and an unworkable dynamic that made any progress virtually impossible. Look, the call for Engelbert's removal isn't just about accountability. It's framed as a necessary step to actually move forward and allow for productive conversations, clearing the way for a new era of labor relations. The pressure on her job is immense, because her continued presence seems to be directly blocking the very issues Adam Silver is now so forcefully trying to fix. It makes her future with the league look increasingly uncertain during this period of transformative change.
The only thing I would say is, what happens if Caitlin Clark decides to retire a year from now? Let's say all the behavior of her peers doesn't change. She continues to get the crap beat out of her on the court. And she says, enough. I'm walking away. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go play golf. I'm going to go overseas and play. Whatever. All right? If she does that, what do you think's going to happen? The networks that paid all that money in the media rights deal are going to go to Adam Silver and go, look.
So, with Adam Silver now stepping in and taking control over the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement, you can really feel the urgency. That October 31st deadline is coming up fast. That date marks when the current CBA expires, and if there's no new deal, the league could be looking at a catastrophic lockout. That would threaten the very existence of the 20. This deadline has been described as rapidly approaching, creating this intense pressure cooker environment where every single day without progress just cranks up the risk. Now, while Silver's intervention has brought some calm and an assurance that a deal will get done, the super intricate nature of these labor negotiations, with all their complex financial and structural points, makes a full agreement by October 31st highly, highly unlikely. Because of that, Many experts and commentators, including the person speaking in the original video, think an extension of the current CBA will probably be necessary. Such an extension would give both sides more time to iron out all those intricate details of a new agreement without the immediate threat of a work stoppage. It would also allow Silver's directives to be fully implemented and codified. This temporary measure would be a pragmatic solution, acknowledging the monumental task of totally reshaping the league's economic framework in such a short time frame. And while that's good, even an extension comes with its own challenges. It prolongs the period of uncertainty and delays the full implementation of those promised salary increases and other player benefits. The goal is still a comprehensive, transformative deal, but the reality of the calendar means an interim solution might be the only way to avoid an immediate crisis and keep the league going while the long-term future gets meticulously hammered out.
Bert leading the way, and I believe she should be fired. We weren't getting anywhere with Kathy Engelbert leading the way, and also the players are basically refusing to negotiate on a bunch of different key points as long as Kathy is in position. So I believe that Kathy Engelbert has to go. She just has to go. So that we can move on. Like, there's a lot of things, bro. We got 2 new teams. We have expansion drafts. We have free agency. We got WNBA drafts going. Like, we got a lot of stuff to get to. I'm excited.
But then, amidst all those contentious negotiations and calls for resignations, a more calm and optimistic voice actually popped up from the ownership ranks. It was Mark Davis, the owner of the 2-time WNBA champion Las Vegas Aces. He offered a really refreshing perspective, emphasizing the need for unity and a forward-thinking approach. He said something like, "We'll get it right." I don't think there are 2 sides to this. If we look at this as togetherness and we're trying to make the future better, I think that's what we need to do. That sentiment stands in total contrast to how petty and personal the earlier negotiations felt. It really echoed Adam Silver's desire for maturity and collaboration. What's more, Davis's words reflect a broader understanding that the WNBA's long-term success benefits both players and owners. He gets that framing negotiations as an adversarial battle ultimately hurts everyone involved. His leadership with the Aces, who have built a dynasty and cultivated a passionate fan base, gives his words extra weight. He's not just an owner, he's an owner who has clearly invested in his team and seen real success, both on and off the court. His call for togetherness suggests a path forward that goes beyond just bickering over percentages and individual demands. He's advocating for a collective vision focused on the league's overall growth and prosperity. This perspective lines up perfectly with Silver's vision of securing the league's future, offering a glimmer of hope that a balanced, mutually beneficial agreement is achievable if both parties embrace a collaborative spirit instead of a confrontational one. Davis's public stance is a good reminder that not all owners are solely focused on the immediate bottom line, but rather on fostering an environment where the league can truly thrive and grow for decades to come, benefiting everyone involved.
Actually came out and said NBA owners were beginning to question why they were keeping the league going and what the hell was happening to their money. That was in that article. They were questioning, why are we doing this? We're not getting anything paid back after 26, 27 years. Tell me what you think. It's amazing that 2 words can't come out of people's mouths still. Peace, I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Now, while Adam Silver has definitely promised a big increase in player salaries, his intervention also came with a firm rejection of certain demands he straight up called nonsense. Specifically, he pushed back on the idea that every player should get the same level of personal security as Caitlin Clark. That demand for Clark-level security obviously shows a desire for more protection and recognition across the board. But Silver quickly shut down the notion that these custom arrangements, designed for a singular, unprecedented phenomenon, could just be given to all players. His message was pretty clear. All this other nonsense trying to play at this level, that level, trying to get everything Caitlin Clark got, it ain't happening. This statement set a crucial boundary, showing what's actually realistic within the WNBA's current financial framework versus what's just an impractical or financially impossible demand. It really underscores Clark's unique status and the disproportionate security needs that come with her superstar status. That's an anomaly that simply can't be replicated across the league without a dramatic increase in operational costs that the league just isn't prepared to bear. And on top of that, Silver also dismissed other ridiculous stuff players were reportedly asking for, like calls to pay players from the 19. While that might be well-intentioned, retrospective financial compensation like that would add an enormous, unforeseen liability to the league's already strained budget, diverting funds from current player salaries and growth initiatives. So, Silver's firm hand here shows a pragmatic approach. He's willing to deliver substantial pay raises, but not at the cost of financially crippling the league with demands that stretch beyond its current economic realities or create unsustainable precedents. It's a delicate balancing act, appeasing players while safeguarding the league's financial integrity, making sure those promised salary bumps are both impactful and sustainable.
That's stuff to get to. I'm excited to watch these college prospects to see who should go where they will be going. But that looming thought of, man, there might not even be a 2026 season is not a good thought. We want to see Caitlin Clark play again. Unrivaled is almost here, but that's 3-on-3. How excited are we really to watch 3-on-3 basketball? I'm not super excited to watch 3-on-3 basketball. I'm going to be honest with you. So thank you to Adam Silver for stepping in, being the adult in the room, and helping get a deal done at some point. At some point.
Despite all the tough CBA negotiations and those underlying financial struggles, there's still this really exciting buzz around the WNBA's future, especially with the highly anticipated expansion. The league has actually confirmed 2 new teams are coming, which is huge. It promises to create more roster spots, bring in new talent, and really broaden the league's reach and fan base. This expansion, combined with the upcoming expansion drafts and the usual WNBA and free agency drafts, points to a period of potential growth and opportunity that could invigorate the league in ways we haven't seen before. But here's the thing. This excitement is definitely tempered by a lingering uncertainty. The success and even the timing of all these crucial events, like where new college prospects will land and how free agency will unfold, are all intrinsically linked to getting this CBA resolved. The nagging thought of, man, there might not even be a 2026 season, really casts a dark cloud over what should be a time of pure anticipation. Fans are super eager to see their favorite players, especially Caitlin Clark, continue their careers in the WNBA. But the specter of a lockout or stalled growth is still looming large. There's also been a cautious reception to newer ventures like Unrivaled, that 3-on-3 basketball league, with some fans just not as enthusiastic about alternative formats compared to the traditional 5-on-5 What's more, Adam Silver's intervention, therefore, isn't just about addressing player salaries. It also aims to clear the path for these exciting future developments to actually happen. His commitment to securing a deal is a promise to unlock the full potential of this era of growth, making sure that the energy and investment currently pouring into the WNBA can translate into tangible long-term expansion and a thriving professional landscape for women's basketball. So ultimately, Adam Silver's intervention marks a pivotal moment for the WNBA. He's promising a much-needed salary increase and a clear path forward after all those fraught negotiations. His decisive action, almost like the adult in the room, has calmed immediate fears of a lockout, guaranteed a 2026 season, and injected a renewed sense of optimism into the league. Players are finally poised to receive significantly better compensation, which is a long overdue recognition of their talent and growing impact. Yet beneath this celebratory surface, some profound challenges still persist. The league's historical inability to turn a profit, that precarious dependence on the singular phenomenon of Caitlin Clark, and the fixed nature of its current media rights deal, these all present enduring structural hurdles. While Silver has put his foot down on realistic demands, the tension between player aspirations and economic reality remains a tightrope act. The WNBA, while undoubtedly on an upward trajectory, isn't yet a self-sustaining financial powerhouse. Its future success hinges not just on those promised pay raises, but on converting unprecedented viewership into consistent profitability, expanding its fan base beyond single stars, and fostering a collaborative environment that moves past old animosity. Silver has bought the league time and momentum, but the ultimate test will be whether the WNBA can leverage this moment to build a truly robust, independently thriving ecosystem. One that continues to grow and reward its athletes without relying solely on the benefits of the NBA or the fleeting brilliance of any one individual. The road ahead, though clearer, is still filled with significant economic and strategic navigation.